The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Recording. There we go. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank everybody for jumping on, especially on short notice. Like I said, there was a lot of people that when they got that new version of Race Manager, and they were pre-printing apps, and the serial number validation code wasn't on there. It was kind of a shock. I can tell you that was a kind of a last minute. It was pulled out of the program. And it was pulled out because we are putting the finishing touches on kind of step number 2 with the Torf Wizard. So step 1 was you've got this Torf Wizard. You can score your race. You can go in after the race, and basically the system will do the Torf for you. Well, part of the system's ability to accurately do a Torf is it has to know exactly how many memberships were sold. And the problem is if a track went in and said, I want 10 full membership applications, $60 applications, they print off 10, they have serial number validation codes. When you guys were going back in to add those riders back into the system, you were hitting add existing because the serial number is already assigned. You don't want to burn another number. So you hit add existing, but now the system, at least as the program was done at the time, had no concept of whether that rider came from another track or your track. You were just saying, I want to take a rider who's already bought and paid for their membership and put them into my system because they're not in my database. Maybe they came from another track, and the last rider update you didn't have that rider from the other track in it, right? So the programmer calls me, and we're like a day, 2 days before we released the 2019 version of the program. And he said, Brad, I've got a problem. And that problem is if they preprint applications with serial number validation codes on them, there's no guarantee that the Torf Wizard is going to do the Torf for the right amount of money. And he said, the only thing I can think to do is pull the serial number and validation code off the memberships so that you can preprint them, but they won't get a serial number until they put them into the computer by hitting add new. And again, at the time that he had called, we needed to get the 2019 version out, and that wasn't thought of until very late in the game. And that was about the only option that we could have done so that the Torf Wizard would still do things the right way. We go through last weekend. Certainly I heard from a slew of tracks about, hey, I'm pre-printing these things. The serial number validation code's gone. If you talk to me, you already heard that explanation of why it happened. But it became very clear to me, how much, and rightfully so. Look, we trained you guys over the years to look, if you don't have multiple windows like we do at a national, and you want to be probably as efficient as possible, you will pre-print them with serial numbers validation codes so that people can fill them out. Your person not at the computer, working the window, taking the money, can sign the bottom of it, give it to them, explain to them, hey, your rider number's right here. It's the last 3 digits of your serial number. Carry this around till you get your card, da-da-da-da-da. The top of the app goes back to the person inputting. They input the app, put the rider into whatever they're racing that day, and we go. So it's a very, very good system, and obviously that system got changed at the last minute, and it was a pain point for tracks. So what I did at the beginning of this week was get on the phone with my programmer, and I said, okay, Jeff, we've got to go back to the drawing board, and we need to find a way for them to pre-print applications with serial numbers, with validation codes, and still be able to do the Torf later and have the Torf be accurate. I had some ideas on how to do that. Of course, talked with my team that was in the office, talked with Cody Wilson, talked with John David, talked with B.A. Anderson, and we kind of talked about it. What we came up with, and the programmer, I believe this is how he's going to do it, is I said, look, if you pre-print an application, when they go to put it in, when they hit add existing, when you release this new version, updated version now of the 2019 Race Manager, when you hit add existing, it's basically going to challenge you guys and ask you a question. It's going to say, is this a pre-printed app that you're adding, or is it a rider from another track? If it's a rider from another track, then they've already bought their membership. There's no money that changed hands. But if it's a pre-printed app, then it's going to know to add it to your TORF. So it basically addresses what we needed to address when we didn't have time to do it in the first place and still get the tracks that were running New Year's Eve or New Year's races on New Year's Eve /1201 to get them the software to do that. We didn't have time. He's going to go back in and put that in. So that's what's going to happen with the race manager, and one of the main reason why I said, hey, we'll talk about the 2019 race manager. In addition to that, I mean, if we go over here and look at some of the other things that it does, we talked about this before in webinars. Use the combine code to look back 3 age groups from the oldest age during processing for all 20-inch proficiencies. What that basically means is before it starts to build motos starting at 5 and under novice, 5i, 5x, and go on up through the spectrum, it's going to go to the oldest classes of the day, and it's going to attempt to build backwards, going back 3 age groups. And so what I'm trying to fix there is I'm trying to fix those funky older classes of the day, certainly for the expert girls, to where they weren't getting put in with the men if there was another class that they could race. Sometimes the older men's class would be funky like that. So hopefully that's going to fix that. Change the ABA or the USA BMX total points to use the ABA transfer combined for 9 rider age groups. So basically, again, that was something that tracks that were running the race as a total points race, but they had 9 riders. You know, they're like, for those 9 rider classes, it would be nice to do like a 2 combined 4, like we would do in a 2 moto transfer, and then we can put 8 riders in the main. So again, anybody who's ever run a total point class, especially like if UCI runs a total point class with 9 riders, they drop 1 from each group and take 7 riders to the main. So you know, we don't want to do that. We want it to behave like it would have behaved if it was a transfer system, to maintain parity between tracks running total points and tracks running the transfer system. Changed USA BMX total point races to drop a rider in 4 to 8 rider classes to match the transfer system. This has to do with, again, just kind of setting up for when we get to, you know, kind of phase 2 of the TORF wizard and kind of the automation that's coming. You know, when you score that race, you do the TORF wizard. The TORF wizard builds a package called a TORP, track operator reporting package, that it pushes up to the cloud. And the ultimate goal is that we're going to pull that TORP package down, and our system is going to read it in. It's going to input the race into the membership system without anybody 10 keying anything. And ultimately, the members, same thing. If you've added new full members into your system, it's going to download them into our system. Again, it'll allow us to be streamlined. It'll allow us to turn points around much quicker. But then it became very important to, if you were running a class with 5 riders and it's a total point class, so you would score 1 through 5, 1 through 5, 1 through 5. Now you go over to the main tab and there were still 5 riders listed. It was not dropping a rider. So then the track would go through and they'd score it 1 through 5. But here's the deal. When our people were keying in that moto into our system, they know that any class with 4 or more riders, somebody has to not make the main event. Somebody has to get rider points only. And so now, if you're a track that runs total points and you click over to the main tab, you'll see that there's 1 less rider than the number of riders that were in the moto. So just so that it's impossible for you to give a 5th place to somebody in a 5-rider class. You can give positions 1 through 4, but somebody's got to get a 0. Somebody's got to get rider points only. So the high points person basically is not going to be on that main tab. Change donation to surcharge fees for RFL and Warnicki. That has more to do with kind of the track operator reporting for RFL and Warnicki. So I'm excited to show you guys the new tool for the Race for Life. So that's awesome. Revise some posting and announcing sheets to get more space for showing display name and sponsor name. It will now show 30 and 40 characters respectively. So I've already heard from some tracks that were, and even on here, we're saying, hey, there's some things that are no longer on the announcer sheets that I liked. One of those things being the age of the riders, because you guys are running races where, unlike nationals, and it happens at nationals, but where if a 4-year-old gets moved up to race a 6-year-old, the announcers like to bring attention to the 4-year-old. Hey, put your hands together for little Johnny. He's only 4 years old out there, and the crowd roars. So I get that. That's also something that I spoke with the programmer about earlier this week, and I said, Jeff, I said maybe what we'll do, we'll see how many people kind of have that same request, and if there's more tracks that email me and say, hey, we're missing this and this and this off the announcer sheets, my announcers would like it back. Maybe what we'll do is we'll have some options of announcer sheets, like use national, print national announcer sheets or print local announcer sheets. And maybe the difference is what's displayed on them, where we know what our national announcers want to see. And for them, it's more about, hey, I don't want the last name truncated, chopped off at the end, because the kid he's got a long first name, a long last name, and then he gives himself a nickname. And now all of a sudden, Shane Robinson is now Shane the Bullet Robbins, because I don't see the O-N. And right, so now the announcer's announcing the wrong name. So we just wanted to kind of standardize that. And again, admittedly, mostly for the national announcers. So if your local announcers are saying, hey, this is now gone from my set of sheets and I don't like that, shoot me an email. And if we get enough of those, again, I'll talk to Jeff about our options. So placed a 30-character enforced limit on the display names and a 40-character limit on the sponsor names in all text boxes in the UI, in the user interface. And all that means is, if we can only store 30 and 40 characters, don't let you type in 50 or 80 characters, right? Because we know that you're going to type in that long thing and hit tab to go to the next field or hit save or whatever and think that it's going to save it. It can only save what it'll fit. So, or maybe it saves it, but if it can't print it on the moto sheet, what good is typing it in? So now it's got those hard and fast limits. And you'll know when it's, hey man, your nickname's too long, dude. You need to shorten something up. Pre-printed apps no longer have serial numbers on them. When adding to Race Manager, user will use add new. So that, again, that's what the main thing I wanted to talk to Race Manager about. We did that. A lot of tracks are really relying on those pre-printed apps having serial numbers on there, and to not have them on, I understand, is a pain, but we've got a good workaround for that. When in the scoring grid, shift and holding down the shift key and either the left or right arrow will move the cursor between M1, M2, and M3, Moto 1, Moto 2, Moto 3. So you used to have to grab the mouse and click to get into a different moto from whatever moto you were in. And now you can shift and use the arrow keys. So just little keyboard shortcuts. Created the TORP submittal process that allows a pre-approved track to submit races directly out of Race Manager to the sanction, which contains the event complete with motos, scores, membership PDFs, and the TORF. Website will charge track directly for the TORF when the payment method is set in the track dashboard. So there's a lot there. So basically what that means is that as a track operator, you can go in and designate one of the credit cards in your account. So let me illustrate this by trying to log in. So I'm logged in and edit profile. There's my account. Okay, so if I say add a credit card, I gotta see where. So basically, in your account, you'll be able to. Is it here? I gotta see where they put it, but they put it somewhere. Let me try our back end and see what our back end looks like. Oh, let's see. Let's look at Santa Clara is a good example. Okay. So we've got some things in here, whether they're an indoor pay by check. So there are some cities, municipalities, Santa Clara being a good example, Rock Hill being another example of municipalities that do get invoiced for their torfs. So there's some different options in there that we can set on the back end. But basically, the track operator will be able to push their race up to the cloud if they have a pre-approved payment method. So for 99% of the tracks, that's going to be a credit card that within your account, you've said, this is the track credit card. And so when you upload a TORP package, you're going to upload it and it's going to charge your card on file for whatever the TORF amount was. You know, you're going to see the TORF. You, in fact, during the TORF creation process, you digitally sign the TORF and acknowledge that, yes, I understand that this is the amount I'm going to be charged. Well, when you push that TORP package up to the website, it's going to automatically charge the track directly for the TORF when the payment method is set in the track dashboard. So that is contained in the new version of the Race Manager. And again, a lot of this stuff has to do with trying to get ready for that automation. But again, the last thing we ever want to do is to try to, you know, in getting ready for the future, really screw up your processes now. You know, we're trying to lay the foundation to get to where we want to be by the end of 2019, but certainly don't want to mess up your processes now. Okay, if I have a credit card on file now, will this apply? Well, kind of. I mean, you'll still have to, Jason, go into your profile and say, hey, make this my, you know, Yukon BMX track card. And at that point, it won't be our accounting department that's processing the card. The processing will happen by the website. When you push that file up, it's going to charge your card right there. So, I mean, it could charge your card while our office is closed because you uploaded that card on a Saturday and it processed the card. Just not much different than you can pre-sign for a national over the weekend and it'll hit your card even though our office is closed. Same thing. If I had some leftover pre-printed apps that I already used, well, no, there will not be a problem entering. If you already had some pre-printed apps, again, this was kind of like trying to run out the pre-printed apps that were floating out there, because what we wanted to make sure was as more and more tracks start using this TORF wizard to create their TORFs, we want the TORF wizard to be accurate. And if right now with the current version or any previous version of Race Manager, if you had a pre-printed application and you added that application into your system by hitting add existing because the app was pre-printed, you didn't want to burn a serial number, it didn't add it onto your TORF because it didn't know that it needed to. Let's see. Good question. Will we still need to scan in new apps or at least the signature pages? Yes, you will. And really, since there's signatures on both the front and the back, right now we'll need to get both pages scanned and signed in. Now, there's a number of things I'll say about that. So, number one, the ultimate goal is for people to, well, my next goal with the website and programmers is, hey, I want people to be able to go online, and especially on their mobile device, and from start to finish to be able to create a profile, add a credit card to their profile, and buy a brand new membership. And I want that process to be simple. I want that process to be like a guest checkout process. And so that's what I've got the website programmers working on now. They basically gave me a 15-page mock-up of what a guest checkout would look like, the guest checkout flow. And I've got people at the office going through that guest checkout flow right now and making sure that it's buttoned up as much as it can. And then I told them by my Wednesday meeting with them next week, I wanted them to be able to tell me with certainty that not only can we make that guest checkout flow work on a desktop computer, we can make it happen on the mobile as well. So the first thing is I want to get that done. But then the next thing is, I don't want to be dealing with paper applications. I mean, because I know it's tough for you guys to scan them. It's a lot of times maybe you scan them, you don't scan the front and the back, and then membership's missing signatures, da 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 da. So if we can start capturing signatures digitally, that's the way we want to go. Now, my programmer, I've mentioned this in previous webinars, he is already sourcing or looking at these little signature pads that are, they're maybe 4 inches wide by 3 inches tall, and they'll display up to 5 lines of text. And so what that will mean is that somebody could, when they go to sign that app, they can basically scroll through the waiver, either with scroll bars or to hit next, next, next. Similar to checking in. If you check into a Holiday Inn Express, a lot of time they have that little pad there that you're going to have to sign, but you read some stuff and hit next, next, next. You click I agree, and then you sign. Same type of thing, right? And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The powers that be above me would really love to get to where the only place you can buy a membership is online. And they point to a host of other sports that is the case right now. If you want to sign up to be in this baseball league, whatever, you go onto the website and you sign up there. I know that BMX, for over 40 years, has done it another way, the old school way, the way with an application and cash in hand for many, many years. And so, I want to still have an ability for you guys to do that. These signature pads that my programmer is looking at are affordable. They're only about $250. And so that's not a high price point. And then, that would be a way that they could digitally sign the application at your track. Are you going to offer the membership form as a back only, so when we print it, we only have to print the front? Yeah, I see what you mean. You mean like when somebody gets a renewal signature form, it's a one-sided form that only has the waiver on it. And, yeah, Laura, I mean, and I think what we can do is, again, when you guys put those new members into your system and we get this TORP, this track operator reporting package going, part of that package is that it takes all of the members that you had in the race and all of the race data itself, and it packages it into this package. And so when we pull down that package, not only do we have the motos and who was in the motos and what place they took, not only what place they took in the overall main, but what place they took in the moto. And so we can basically recreate your race. And the rider information is included in that too. Well, so if we get to there, now we're not really keying in your new members' info. We're not keying in their address, city, state, zip, phone number, this and that. And then, maybe, we could just have a signature page that's like, here's the rider's name and serial number, and here's the signed waiver, because we're not dependent on getting that address info, if that makes sense. See if we had any other questions that I didn't get to. This was back to total points. When we run total points races now, are we dropping the last rider in the third round when running the race, or just when you score the race? And so a couple of years back, I tried to make sure that we had all the tracks on the same page with regards to total points. I mean, my understanding with total points is that if you're going to run total points, the riders race 3 times, you total up the points, and there's your overall winner, second, third. yada, yada, yada. To run total points and then run a main event means that you're not running total points, number one. And if you don't drop somebody before you run that quote unquote main event, then there really is no reason to run those first three rounds. So from my understanding with total points and what I tried to get all the tracks to agree to do, hey, if you're going to run total points, run them 3 times, total up the points. There's your overall low points, the overall winner, and so on and so forth. If you have 9-rider class, well, it's going to be 2 combined 4, and then their main event will run when the other total point classes are running their 3rd round. So again, everybody's running 3 times, and it doesn't matter whether you have a main or whether you have so yeah, that was the understanding with total points. One more thing that I want to talk about, and I'll pull up some stuff here to talk about it, is the fact that on the applications, and this actually happened last year, it was kind of snuck in. I didn't really know it was going to come out before the 2019 version of Race Manager was released, but it got pushed out into the 2018 state final version of Race Manager, and that was the fact that there is no information to put credit card numbers at the bottom of applications that print out anymore. We had that on the bottom of those applications for, I will just say, more years than we should have, because that becomes a PCI compliance issue. So, if you were a track that was writing, when somebody comes to buy a membership, and you were writing their credit card info at the bottom of the application, hey, here's their credit card number, here's their expiration date, go ahead and charge them the $60. They gave me $10 cash for the race, and now everybody's happy. The problem with that is, we could, and well, let me show you. So PCI compliance. PCI compliance, let me pull up this, is basically PCI standards apply to credit card readers, point of sale systems, store networks, and wireless access routers, payment card, data storage, and transmission. I can tell you that our website people, they do not store anybody's credit card data. Not at all. That is handled by a third-party company that is basically can ensure that all of their systems are PCI compliant, that they're locked down tight, and everybody's seen what's happened. I mean, you have major corporations that Target got hacked, and a bunch of account numbers and stuff got exposed. And I'm a Target Red Card holder. I mean, nothing ever ended up getting hit on my account, but I mean, in Target, Target was using a vendor that was PCI compliant or had their own stuff in place. But payment card data storage and transmission, so that has to do with the website. But look at this. Payment card data stored in paper-based records. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. If we're talking about somebody writing their credit card number on a piece of paper, you need to be able to prove, if anybody, kind of investigated, you'd be able to prove that payment card data that is stored in paper-based records is safe. That nobody who shouldn't have access to it has access to it, and it's safe from the time you collect it to wherever it's going to go. And guess what? If you are scanning that stuff and uploading it, it's not safe. Somebody could intercept that. If you are, and it's a secure upload and all that, but it's not PCI compliant. If you were taking a paper application with a credit card number on it and you were putting that in the mail, that's not safe. Anybody can intercept that. And again, as you can probably guess, becoming PCI compliant and maintaining that compliance can be a complex process. It can involve implementing security controls, hiring a pricey third-party consultant to install costly software and hardware, and signing an expensive and binding contract under which you agree to the bank's terms for annual PCI compliance, completing annual self-assessments, and more. So the easiest thing to do if you're a business, especially a small business like we are, is to basically farm out that PCI compliance nightmare to other vendors. right? To the credit card processing company that handles our website, that's their headache. We just pay them, and part of paying them is that, right? So, so what happens if you're not PCI compliant and you're found to be not PCI compliant? And I know this is hard to read if you're trying to read it. Penalties are not highly publicized, but they can be destructive for businesses. For example, if your company violates PCI compliance standards, credit card brands may levy fines from $5,000 to $100,000 per month to your acquiring bank. The banks often pass this cost along to the merchant and can terminate contracts or increase fees for transactions in response to breaches and violations. So here's the thing. These credit card companies have all this protection for you, the card holder, right? So if your credit card gets somehow into the wrong hands and somebody buys a bunch of stuff and it wasn't you, you're not responsible. But what the banks then do is they try to find out who broke that kind of that chain of custody with that credit card and was not PCI compliant, and they will fine that business to try to recoup the money that they had to eat when you didn't pay for the goods that some crook made off with your card. So this is one of these things where, you know, we simply had to quit putting that on there. If it's not on there, please do not write these credit card numbers on these apps. You're not PCI compliant. And as a business, there are terrible penalties that you can incur for doing that. So obviously, if you're a track and you've got people that come that want to buy their memberships with credit cards, yes, I want to, and I'm working very hard and very quickly to get a website that you can send them to, that they can buy even a brand new membership. Certainly the online renewal process is as easy as it gets. Creating an account and buying a brand new membership, a little bit tricky. I get that. And I'm working with them on that guest checkout process to try to solve that. I know that if you're a track that takes credit cards for your snack bar, your race fees or whatever, you're not really interested in taking, $60 and taking a 3%, whatever your percentage is with the credit card company hit on that $60. That is basically somebody else's money. It's the sanctions money. It's not your money. And I understand you don't want to pay that percentage. Some tracks are. It was kind of a little post on the Track Operator Facebook, and one track was like, "Hey, it's the cost of doing business. I'm locking in that $60 member who's now going to come week in and week out." So I mean, I want to get to where you don't have to do that, because we've got a website where they can pull it up on their handheld mobile device and buy it, and you don't have to eat that percentage. And again, I'll try to get there as quickly as possible. But the reason the credit card info disappeared from the bottom of the apps has everything to do with PCI compliance. It is illegal to do that, and I think the tracks and certainly us could be fined heavily. Should somebody's credit card be compromised and we be found to not be in PCI compliance. So that's why that is. All right, we've gone a while with no questions. Anybody got any questions? All right, so I am so excited about this next piece, and I'm going to start. I'm going to have some emails coming out that'll talk about this. So one of the first things is, obviously we had some talk on the Track Operator Facebook page about, man, when it'd be nice to be able to take online donations. We met with different companies, interviewed with different companies, and said, hey, show us your solutions. Tried to find a solution that would fit our needs, and then very quickly tried to get them to build us a custom solution. And let me show you what we've got. So the company behind, everybody's heard of GoFundMe. Well, GoFundMe, another part of their business is a brand called Crowdwise, but it's the same people. GoFundMe, Crowdwise, kind of same. So Crowdwise and the USA BMX Foundation, basically, when we met with them, we kind of felt like they'd be able to handle this solution for us, and they started building us out our own little custom portal in their Crowdwise, and it's all done under the USA BMX Foundation. As you know, or may not know, let me pull up the foundation. As you may or may not know, I mean, the Bob Warnicki Scholarship Fund and the Race for Life now fall under the USA BMX Foundation. Sure, those are USA BMX races, but as they are nonprofits, they're handled by Mike DeVarney and the foundation folks, right? So that's why there's the Race for Life, there's the Warnicki. So when we set up this portal, everything was done through the foundation. Now, so you see, USA BMX Foundation is the benefiting charity. USA BMX Foundation is the team organizer. The Race for Life West track, so we basically broke it out West, Central, East. And what that's going to allow us to do is, as these donations, as people start fundraising for the Race for Life this way, instead of doing it with the old envelopes and at the door, which we really expect the donations to go through the roof with this form, because riders can basically, I'll show you, but riders can basically share this on the social media page. And now, people that know those riders, but live in different states, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, can donate to that kid's Race for Life cause, just by clicking, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've seen different things come through on GoFundMe that are just making their BMX circles, tragic loss of life, whatever. And GoFundMe is just an incredible tool for that. And this basically gives us that power. So we've had the track marketing specialists. And again, as you know, if you don't know the structure in the track department, we've broken up the track department now. We've upstaffed it, broke it up into 3 regions, East, Central, and West. Each region has a track director, a track coordinator, kind of a right-hand man or woman for that track director, and then a track marketing specialist. So each region has those people. The track marketing specialists, they're really these kids that are, just out of or still in college looking for a nice part-time gig. And these kids are social media. They know so much about social media and everything. It's amazing. And they went through and set up all of these CrowdWise campaigns for the tracks. I've got one track asking right now, are the Canadian tracks able to use this? Well, that's something. So step number 1 was to try to get this CrowdWise solution in place as quickly as possible. Some of the indoor tracks have Race for Lives happening very quickly. You guys might have got sent envelopes, but I can tell you that once this CrowdWise solution is completely done and ready to go, which should be very, very quickly, then all tracks will be doing their Race for Lives this way. And it's going to be great. So as a track, you don't have to do anything. That's a great question. I'll get to that in a minute. So CrowdWise, so these donation campaigns are already set up for you. You don't have to do anything. For the most part, they are going to end in your track number here. So what we're going to do with you, you'll just basically go through and share this onto your Facebook page and go, okay, riders, click here. Here's how you get to Northwest Indoor. And then what the riders will do is the riders will come in and the riders will do this. Let me first log out because I'm logged in as the. There we go. So I'm logged out now. So what the riders do is the riders will click on this link on your Facebook and they'll come here. And they'll go, okay, they're proud to host Race for Life, da, 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 da. For more information about Race for Life, go to the foundation's page on Race for Life, and yada, yada. So anybody who sees that link, if they see that link on your track website and they don't have a kid that races, well, they can come here and hit Donate Now. Takes them right into the donation. They make whatever donation they want, put this, boom, make the donation, and it takes them to the payment page. So that's great. If they come in and they're If they come in and they're a rider, what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to click join the team, right? So they click join the team because they go, well, I'm a racer in Washington and I race at Northwest Indoor BMX. So I want to raise funds for the Race for Life on behalf of myself as a rider and for Northwest Indoor BMX. And that's not to say that as a rider, I'm not going to also raise funds for, you know, any other tracks, outdoor tracks in Washington. So I come in here and I hit join the team. So now it comes in and it goes, okay, sign in using Facebook. So I'm going to say, okay, sign up using Facebook. Great, boom, I'm in. So I've already kind of gone in and done this. Let me log out. So I want to show you. I want to show you that screen. So let me come in here and I'm gonna add my daughter. Oh. All right, and so I sign up. So now I put her info. She wasn't in CrowdWise before. Okay, so now I've logged in as my daughter, and now when I say join the team, now is where I can come in and I can say, oh, you know what? Well, now let me add all this stuff, right? What is my BMX serial number? Well, I'm whatever. I'm 0001 Chandler 1001. What is my shirt size? Well, I'm an adult large, and my jacket size, yeah. Well, maybe a jacket I like wearing XL. Maybe I want to wear a sweater underneath it. I hit join the team. So now, because I've added all of this stuff, so question coming in, how do the individual riders get their awards who strive for them? Well, right here. Boom. I've captured all this rider's info. CrowdWise is going to store this in a database. And so now, as I fundraise, it's not only adding into Northwest Indoors total, it's adding into our total as you know, the Race for Life campaign as a whole. It's because each track is in a state. It can, you know, I want to be, you know, I told CrowdWise I want to be able to say, hey, this state has raised this much, the West has raised this much, the Central has raised this much. Break it down by the tracks within a state to be able to, again, at a glance, to be able to say this is the track that was the highest RFL fundraiser. And again, you can get that data in real time because all the donations are being done online, right? So there's that. So because we're storing that info about the rider, that's how the riders are going to get their individual awards. And again, if you're a rider who's going to compete at multiple tracks, you'll just go in and join multiple different teams. You might have one login for CrowdWise. You log in with your username or password, or you log in with your Facebook. It remembers who you are. But because you've joined, you know, I'm going to join the 3 different tracks in Reno, I'm going to join each one of those Race for Lives because I'm going to participate in each one. I'm being tracked into 3, and I may raise Mary $100 at your track, and I raise $75 at the other track and $50 at the other track. So all told, I've raised $225 as a rider, but it was broken up 100 at this track, 75 at that track, and 50 at that track. But because when I click join the team and I give my serial number, it's all being logged under that one serial number. Now, as a sanction, when I get this data back from CrowdWise, I can say, okay, give me the sum of all the donations for this serial number, and now what does that rider get? Right? Does that make sense? Question came in, what percentage does CrowdWise keep? Of course, somebody's got to ask that question, which I love because I love how they do it. So check this out. I'm going to say, hey, $25, and it's my daughter doing it, right? And I'm going to hit donate. And so now it's going to go to the payment and blah, blah, blah. This is what I want you to focus on is right here. Confirm your donation. USA BMX Foundation, Inc. $25. I want to donate $25. So 100% of your donation goes to the beneficiary. It's going to take their percentage and it's going to add it to the total. Now, CrowdWise said that, and I forget the exact percentage. I know it's over 90. I think they said it was closer to 95% of every donation that comes in through CrowdWise is this option. People can come in here and hit edit and say, you know what? I do not want to cover the beneficiary's fees. So if I hit that and hit save and close, now $25, my total donation is $25, but now I know that the charity is really going to get $25, so $23.35, whatever, wasn't it $1.65, something like that. So now I know that they only donated $23.65. They spent $25 to donate $23. But again, by default, when they come in, it defaults to this, which basically means the people donating are going to pay for the crowd. Now, and don't get me wrong, CrowdWise, for us to do this solution, there was a cost. But in terms of per transaction, I know that they're going to keep a percentage per transaction. That's what it is. Oh, I did not see a box for variable donation. Let me go back. Yes, it's right there. I can say, you know what? I want to donate $3. Donate it's got to be at least 10. Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know they had a minimum. But anyways, there's the variable. So I say I want to donate $10. At $10, it's $10.84. So the $10 minimum is interesting. I guess I didn't. Maybe I had seen that and I forgot about it. That could be. That's a question for them the next time. And again, a lot of this, I can tell you that they CrowdWise was aiming to finish this on January 9th. And I said, well, that's great because I want to do a webinar, a fee for $500. Shoot. I don't know, man. Let me go figure it out. $500. If somebody donates $500, it's $27.30. So again, they'll see the fee. They'll see it here. However much they donate, they'll see. And again, they can come in here and go, yeah, you know what? I wanted a nice round number. I don't want to do that. So it's $27.30. Now it's basically, it's not going to be $500, and you won't see what the fee is now. But here, again, and you see it's $0 right now. The minute I hit edit, it goes back to defaulting to them paying for it. You see that? Okay, so we go back to foundation. Hold on. Let me log back out as Chloe, and let me log back in. So for us, I'm gonna kind of cheat here and log into ours. So this is what our track marketing people see. And there's some amazing things that we can do. I mean, once people start donating, you can drill into, there are reports that we can run, a donation report, right? So we can say, I want to see the total monthly member report detailed, a summary report. There's all kinds of cool reporting forms. We can come in here and say email. I want to do an email. Donation receipt, thank you, campaign updates. So we our people are going to be going in and customizing all of this stuff. Customize the email template that is sent when you individually thank donors. So you can go in and edit this, right? And you can put custom text, donation receipt, customize it with branding and messaging. So again, they've got an unbelievable platform, and they've just got this set up for us. Let me see. Let me see if I can show you the front end of this thing. Okay, so crowdwise.com/USA BMX Foundation will bring you in here. And again, then you can kind of drill into the Bob Warnicki Scholarship Fund. So we're going to look for ways to do kind of this type of platform for the Warnicki Scholarship Fund, again, to try to, if there are people or businesses that want to donate and really build that scholarship fund up, that's going to be great. So when we drill into the Race for Life campaign, let me see how much of this they've got done. So it comes in, it kind of shows, hey, we've got a goal this year of 400,000, which would be, just an unprecedented, but we know that we're going to get more. So find your BMX track here. They don't have it done yet. Okay, so they showed us a mock-up of this, and again, they're finishing coding this for me. I knew it wasn't going to be done in time. Tracks. Hold on. Yeah, tracks do shortcuts to here. So what they're going to have here is basically a text box to where you can start typing in your state, and yeah, I just don't see it, so they don't have it done yet. But you start typing in your state. So if I type in Oklahoma, what's going to happen is a light box, a little box is going to pop up in my screen, and it's going to show me all of the Oklahoma tracks. Now I can just click on one of those tracks, and I will be basically at that track's donation page. Again, I'll be basically, well, if I go back into here, if I found a track by going through that search page here, found my track, and I click to go view their Race for Life thing, it's going to be the same thing as me doing. Let me go into manage this. And again, they're frantically coding this thing for us to get this thing done. But now I hit view, and I will be viewing 1563. This is Razor City BMX in Wyoming. Here's Razor City BMX's page. So again, the marketing people came through and kind of built this out with standard text that they were copying and pasting, putting your track name. Razor City BMX is proud to host a Race for Life. Donation is benefiting leukemia lymphoma, blah, blah, blah. And again, the riders will be able to join the team, and it'll capture their membership info. So I am really, really excited to see what this does for the Race for Life campaign. Again, as you saw with the Race for Life, if you go back to the foundation, Crowdwise, thought that was going to get me back, USA BMX Foundation. We're starting it off with the Race for Life. I think we'll, try to figure out what can we do with the Warnicki Scholarship Fund. The Warnicki was just kind of a, hey, you show up that day and proceeds benefit the scholarship fund, but you pay your race. And I don't know that that it will be like it's this much and this much donation, just like the Race for Life. But I think certainly if we can get companies that want to, as Box has so generously done for the Race for Life series, if we get companies that say, hey, you know what, if you're a rider and you go secure X amount of donations towards the Warnicki Scholarship Fund, you're eligible to win this, that, or the other thing, then we could really take our scholarship fundraising and push it through the roof as well. And again, this CrowdRise, or again, it's GoFundMe is the company, CrowdRise solution is just going to be the vehicle to get us there. Okay, so later, if we have our own fundraising we want to do, work with the foundation. In terms of trying to use the CrowdWise thing, yeah, I don't, the foundation's kind of a tricky thing, because you guys are certainly, most tracks, a lot of tracks out there are nonprofit tracks. So, for you guys to do fundraising and stuff, you're a nonprofit. You could probably get set up with CrowdRise. If you're a small nonprofit, I don't know what CrowdRise's fee is. I can tell you that, again, for our solution that you see them programming and being laid out in front of you, there was a lot of custom development that went into this thing, and it has a pretty decent, it's a pretty decent expenditure to be able to do this. But I think this gives us an amazing way to track donations by the tracks, to track them down to the rider level, and to do it with, with a pretty good platform that once everything is done, I say, okay, give me all that data. We pull all that data back into our databases, and the process of ordering and shipping out awards is just going to be that much simpler because you're capturing all of that data, right up front. It's not being written on an envelope. It's just such a much better platform. Can more than one person raise funds for one rider as team members? Well, sure. So think about this, right? So when I was logged in as my daughter or whatever, when you're logged in, let me log out and I'll log back in as my daughter, or for me for that matter. But yeah, let me log back in as me. So I logged in as me now, not so now I'm logged in as Brad. Maybe I didn't log in as Brad. Maybe did I log in? Well, log in using my Facebook. Perfect. Okay. So if I join this team and I go get this share on Facebook or get this link, yeah, I mean, basically, if I share this on my Facebook, then anybody could go then share that post and share that post. So yeah, I mean, basically, this is just all social media, right? So I mean, this share on Facebook is going to basically take this direct link to this Razor City page. And, I could post on my Facebook, hey guys, help me raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and Razor City BMX. Here's the link to donate. I share it to my Facebook. And now anybody who sees that and goes and donates is going to be donating, and it's logging the fact that it's me, the rider, who did it because I tied it to my rider account. It's logging it to the track and all that. So again, that's kind of how this is set up. Back to the RFL. If raising for different tracks, would the total amount count for the rider towards the overall award? Yeah. Now, what I will say, Mary, is that it won't. For the rider, I don't know if a rider has a way to see across different campaigns how much they've gotten donations for. So in other words, I'm 3 miles away from Chandler BMX right now in my home, right? So I fundraise for Chandler's Race for Life, but I also want to help out Debbie Kelly and Black Mountain BMX. So I sign up for both of those, and I want to help out my friend Paul, over in the West Valley too. So I sign up to help out all 3 tracks in the Valley because I plan on racing all of their RFLs. Now, when I log into Chandler's, it might say, okay, Brad, you've raised $150 for Chandler, and you've raised $150 for Black Mountain, but you raised $200 for Goodyear BMX. So now all told, I've raised $500, and guess what? Now I get free Grands entries, right? So yes, when we finally get all this data back from CrowdRise and pull it into our system, that's why when we hit join the team, we're asking for this rider's BMX serial number so that we can loop it all back together and total it up, right? So yes, the answer is yeah. It's gonna track for the different tracks, but then because you're giving me your serial number, I'm going to be able to tie it all to you as a rider, and it doesn't matter whether you were doing fundraising for 2 tracks or 20 different tracks. I'm going to sum up everything, and that's going to be what determines whether you're the overall top fundraiser for the nation or whether you get free Grands entries or whatever. Any other questions? One track, if I covered it, I apologize. I know I saw it at the top of the question board. The question was, is this going to be available for Canadian tracks? Yes, we've certainly told CrowdWise that, look, let's get the US tracks set up on this first because the Canadian tracks aren't even going to open up until May. A lot of US tracks might not open until May either if you're in cold weather states like Minnesota or whatever. But I know none of the Canadian tracks are going to open before May, save for the Abbotsford Indoor, obviously. But yes, once that gets in place, and again, on the BC side, I know that they kind of had an online solution for what they were doing. And the question will be, will we switch over to this CrowdWise solution because it just does such a better job of tracking the donations to the rider and to the rider even across multiple tracks. It just makes our job of kind of putting that Race for Life back together and figuring out who earned what in terms of awards and who the top fundraisers were. It makes it so much easier if you're doing it through an online tool like this, rather than, as you can imagine, dealing with envelopes getting mailed into our office. Can you imagine 320 tracks running Race for Lives and everybody sending in those envelopes, and somebody had to process those envelopes? And can you even wrap your head around what that must have been like for many, many years? Laura Perkins, I mean, Amy Rich did it for many, many years. Miley was tackling that. We had just different employees that had to deal with that headache, and now those headaches are gone. So we're very, very excited about this solution. And again, and for the tracks. Now, I do want to say this. This is a change. This will be going out in an email blast to the tracks, but I'm going to say it here right now. The minimum amount to get a Race for Life double pointer for 2020 is going to be $1,500. It doesn't matter whether if your Race for Life was a single point Race for Life in the past, we said you had to raise $1,000 to turn that RFL single into a double. I know that it is going to be easier to get donations because of this online platform. GoFundMe, and when you see something bad happen and somebody does a GoFundMe to help somebody, when you see how rapidly the money goes into those things, it just shows you the power of what this platform can do. So that minimum is $1,500. $1,500 gets you an RFL double for 2020. And I will say this right now, I have no idea what our total donation sum could be at the end of this year. I can tell you that when we drill into the Race for Life, we typically raise in excess of $200,000, sometimes close to $250,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We've set our initial goal at $400,000, and I think we're being conservative there. I think we could be being conservative there. We'll see after this year. And so let me just say this. Right now I'm saying if you raise $1,500, your RFL is a double for 2020. If I have 280 tracks that hit $1,500, I'm going to have to adjust that. I can't have, right now, I don't know the exact number of tracks that do have RFL doubles versus RFL singles, but I can tell you that it is nowhere near 280 tracks that have RFL doubles. And so, I'm not looking to inject a gazillion more multi-point races into it. But I knew that $1,000 was too little. And because it's an online donation thing now, I think it should just be the same for whether it's a single or a double, because the platform by which the riders are going to get donations is the same. Let me see if somebody. So here's the question, and this is going to be, I had some RFL paperwork, and I think we're going to continue to do some. Well, let me do this. Because again, I mean, I love talking to you guys and getting your feedback, and so if you guys are gracious enough to give me your time, let me show you what the RFL checklist looked like and the RFL letter. So the RFL letter, no big deal. This is hey, here's it closes your RFL starter kit, talks about how it was started, blah, blah, blah. An amazing $223,000 was raised last year, or I'm sorry, the first year with 133 tracks that talks about the history, signed by BA. So that's the RFL letter, no big deal there. The RFL checklist. So let me do some key points here. New donation procedure for 2019. We'll be accepting donations online via CrowdWise. Refer your riders to blah, 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 USA BMX Foundation for all donations. The cutoff date for online donations is October 15th. So that's important. So that means it doesn't matter when your Race for Life is. You can continue to tell your riders to online fundraise right through October 15th. Right through October 15th. And again, I will say this is, U.S. tracks. If we adopt this thing for the Canadian tracks, obviously we need to end that earlier, because October 15th is after the BMX Canada Grand. So you can't get free Grands entries if you're still collecting donations while the Grands are happening. So, so that's it. But now let me get down here. And this will answer your question for right now, Mary. But again, I think this is going to be an internal debate. What if someone wants to turn in a cash check donation? Do not accept cash or check donations. All donations must be submitted online through CrowdRise. Accounting got me this today and said, hey, here's what we're going to send them for a checklist. I believe that you guys as tracks may still get businesses that want to cut you a business check. And this may be something where I go back to accounting. So if you believe that a business could give you cash, I think most people, are going to, most people these days, a lot of people these days, let me put it that way, don't carry cash. And, they pull out a card for everything, don't even have cash on them. And so there's that. But I believe that sometimes businesses want to cut a check. Not a whole lot of people write checks anymore either. I mean, everything's done electronically. And this is one of those things where I'm always talking with the different people in the office who are like, well, everybody does things online and, nobody. So buying a membership online only, everybody will get used to that, and that'll be the new norm. And so I'm constantly trying to be an advocate for you guys and say, no. There are tracks that accept cash from businesses, or the businesses want to cut them a check. They do not want to get online with their. And again, I had this discussion once with the accounting team, and they're like, well, every business is going to have a business credit card. Okay, I mean, fair enough, that may be true, but what if a business just wants to, if a rider goes to a business and says, hey, listen, I'm doing some RFL fundraising, the business wants to cut that rider a check, it's tough to say, no, business owner, you need to go to this website and pull out and again, the more hoops sometimes you make people jump through, the less likely you are to get that donation. So again, if you're a track that feels strongly, hey, you know what, we need to have the ability to take cash or a check and to be able to then log that. Now, I can tell you this, that CrowdWise, when you're logged in as the campaign owner, and I'm not right now, there is a way for me to go in and to say, hey, I've taken $500 in what they call offline donations, which means a business might have given me a check, right? They gave me a check for $500. It's not an online donation, but it's an offline donation. And I can go in and say, hey, as a track, I took in $500 of offline donation. So we have a way to kind of digitally take that. I think from the accounting team, it's a matter of trying to keep everything clean, and that whole, send the money and the checks here, but send your envelopes there. We were just trying to I think they were trying to streamline it. But if you're a track that feels strongly that you need to have the flexibility to accept cash or checks and then log it as an online donation, please shoot me an email and trust that I will take that and go to bat for you and have that discussion with the accounting team and the management team. Can we get a list of donations for our track so that we can make announcements at the track? Yeah, and what that's going to be, Laura, is really just, probably maybe emailing your track coordinator, and saying, hey, can you log in and get me my donation list, run that little donation report. And again, we haven't given our team all the rundown on all the reporting capabilities and everything. So again, I stress that CrowdRise literally said, Brad, we're going to have this thing ready for you on January 9th. And I said, hurry up, because I'm doing a webinar on January 10th before I go to Tulsa for the Chili Bowl. So CrowdWise did an incredible job getting me really a working sample to show you, but it's still a work in progress. I was thinking a rider pays more with their fees of that day. Should I take that extra and put that in CrowdWise myself? So again, that's going to be a little bit of a change. They're not calling. Let me go see if that's addressed in the letter. We used to say this. We used to say, you know what? The race for life, if it's a double point race for life, it's a $10 entry that the track keeps, and it's a $10 minimum donation. But really, they were paying a $20 entry fee. You know, the donations are in the envelopes. They were pulling $20 out of their pocket and handing that to you. As a track, you kept 10, and you knew that you had to send the other 10 in along with whatever was in their envelope, right? Now they're trying to simplify it, and let me see if it talks about it here. Okay. After your Race for Life event, complete your TORF via the TORF Wizard on Race Manager. The program will calculate the minimum rider donation for you, $5 per rider for a single, $10 per rider for a double. So that's the program's going to calculate that, and that is going to basically be, if you're uploading your TORF and you've got a credit card on file, your credit card is going to be hit for that minimum rider donation amount per rider. Is going to go on. It's going to get hit right on your credit card for that portion, separate of the online donations. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? So it's not going to be like, okay, I take I paid this much in, towards the insurance for this race. There is no sanction fee, but I paid this much insurance towards USA BMX. I send this much per rider to the Mutual of Omaha Bank, wherever you were sending that. We're trying to simplify it now. And so, accounting was like, look, let's just, whatever the minimum amount per rider is, it's going to be a part of what they get charged for on their TORF, period. And if they're using the automated TORF, it's going to hit your credit card for that. So if you have a double point Race for Life and you have 50 riders, well, 50 riders is $500 at a double point Race for Life. It's going to hit your credit card for $500 plus anything else that was on that TORF. If you sold a membership, whatever. So yeah, that was kind of addressed in there. All right, we have a fraternal order of police that will only write a check. Yeah, and I know that there are going to be, there's going to be situations out there like that. So again, if you're listening to this now, if you're listening to this later, and that there are businesses or whatever that will only write you a check, you're not going to be able to get them to go to a website and click a donate now and pull out their credit card number and please shoot me an email. And if I get a lot of those emails, I can go to the accounting team and the management team and go, guys, we need to be able to let the tracks be able to accept checks from businesses and log those as offline donations. All right. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show for the Race for Life portion of this thing. We talked about the Race Manager. Was there anything else that anybody had? Any other questions? Race Manager, I don't have a timeline for how quickly my programmer is going to get that fixed to get those serial numbers and validation codes back onto pre-printed applications. But I can tell you I was on the phone with him, first thing this week. Unrelated question. Do you have a time frame on Gold Cup final announcements? Yeah, I can tell you that that there are 4 of them that I know for sure right now where they're going to be, and I don't know if the national team and everything, if John David's trying to wait till he has all 6 of them signed, sealed, and delivered and announce all 6 at once. I know an internal email went around the office saying, hey, I've got these 4 figured out. We've talked to the tracks, the CVBs. I know at least one track, kind of did a big announcement that I think was a little bit premature. got a lot of congratulations, whatever. So I can tell you that when the team, nearly everybody is in Vegas right now, flew out, most of them last night. When that team gets back, and I'll be gone, I'm gonna pick up Chris Luna from the airport on Sunday night, and him and I are driving straight through to Tulsa in the middle of the night. So, but I'll get on the phone with the track on Monday and just kind of see where we're at with that. I know everybody's itching to know where those things are going to be, and we want to get that released as well. So hopefully very, very soon. He's just trying to get those. I know John Davis just trying to get all the contracts signed for that. So the track will know what they have raised in entry fees, but will the X amount of 1,500 banner on the CrowdRise site for the track where we can see what's raised in total? Yeah. So this little thing right here, this 0 of $1,500 goal. Yeah. So as riders are basically gathering donations on behalf of your track, you're going to see in real time as those people are bam, 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 getting donations, this number is going to go. And again, I mean, and so what I told the marketing people to do, we have this kind of a project management tool that we use where we had all the tracks listed, obviously, and we had your donation amounts that you raised for last year. And what I was doing was going in, and when I was setting a lot of these up, I was telling the marketing people, hey, if that track raised, $3,000 last year, then let's set their goal at 3,500 or 4,000, right? But if they, but at a minimum, everybody's goal has got to be 1,500. Their goal has to be get me a double point race for life in 2020. But yeah, you'll be able to see, 0% or $0 of a $1,500 goal right here. And not only that, from the foundation side, you'll be able to see right here where we're at. So you'll be able to know, like, of all the tracks, we've set our goal right now at 400,000. I mean, once these donations start coming in on this, you're going to see, boom, here's where we're at. So yeah, it's a really, really cool platform. Again, it's basically the GoFundMe platform, but for nonprofits, right? To do nonprofit fundraising, and they just call it CrowdWise. Or CrowdRise, I'm sorry, CrowdRise. So yeah, we're very, very excited to be partnering with CrowdRise, and it's going to be good. And again, as we develop this partnership with CrowdWise, we can ask CrowdWise, hey, if I've got a nonprofit track that wants to do some type of a fundraising campaign, what are the costs for that? Again, a good example of that, and it was such an amazing thing that they did, but Nanaimo BMX and their Get Behind the Gate campaign. And if you haven't seen it, just go onto Facebook and type in Get Behind the Gate or go to Nanaimo BMX. I mean, they built a campaign around getting a brand new starting gate that had hats and shirts and, I mean, you name it. And it was an amazing campaign. And so, tracks are thinking outside the box like that. And this would be another avenue for them. If it's something that, is an affordable thing. I can tell you the tracks, you guys wouldn't need the level of customization and stuff that we've asked CrowdRise to do. But I'll try to find out from them, hey, listen, if we've got all these nonprofits that are kind of, subsidiaries of us and they want to do fundraising, let me know what that looks like. So they've been a great partner so far, and we've just really enjoyed working with them. All right, guys. Any other questions? No? Well, let me tell you what else is coming up. So coming up, we've got some just unbelievable things coming down the pipeline in terms of webinars. So Cody Wilson, the Western track director, and also heads up our medical program. He's been very quietly working behind the scenes on getting, kind of the medical portion of our website set up. And primarily what that is centered around is, as you know, we got really into the whole concussion, developed a concussion protocol. Some of the different states that we go to, Washington being one of them, has very strict concussion protocol standards that need to be adhered to. And so Cody's been working really hard to, and again, as a former, firefighter, EMT, Cody knew a lot of this stuff. Cody knows, obviously a lot of people who work in that industry, in Supercross, in the NFL. We've got some great contacts. And Cody's going to be doing a webinar very, very soon. Hopefully when I get back from Tulsa. So I don't think it's going to be next week, because I certainly want to be there when he does it with the medical team. But he's going to show you this kind of medical portion of our website. And that's going to be somewhere where, as a track, a kid wrecks at your track and your EMT or whoever says, hey, you know what? I think that kid might have got a concussion. It'll be a place for you to go on our website that you're going to log that and say, hey, here's the rider. Here's the track that this happened at. I think this person might have a concussion. And it's going to automatically notify other tracks in that area that, hey, this kid might have a concussion. And you know what? He needs to do X, Y, and Z to be able to be cleared to return to competition. And so, again, we're trying to do what we can to get everybody, up to speed on current concussion protocol and all that, and to really facilitate it. And right now, there's not really a way for one track to let another track know, hey, this kid took a really bad spill and was knocked out. I mean, they could get up, and maybe you as a track will go, you know what, I'm not letting you back on my track until you bring me a doctor's note saying that you're clear. And but they could go right down the street to another track in this day and age, right? And so we're putting this medical side of our website in place to kind of protect us from that happening. And so that's coming down the pipeline. And I can tell you, as somebody who got a concussion, and I might have gotten mild ones before, but I got a pretty good one last year in my race car when another BMX dad I was racing my race car, dirt car with, poor guy broke a drive shaft, and I drilled him and then hit the wall hard in my car. And I wasn't right for a while. And so, that was, if you're somebody who's never had a pretty good concussion like that, it's freaky. And even if you watch the movie that came out and you've seen, read some of the stuff on CTE, it's when you have one, it's a serious thing. And I don't think anybody really realizes how serious until they get one, and they're scary. They're nothing to mess around with. So I'm excited about that. That'll probably be the next webinar. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Membership. A lot of you might have been being contacted by your coordinators looking if we think we're missing a race. They're going to try to finalize the district points on Monday night. So when the Monday night points upload goes up, it says, hey, district points are filed. Here's your new number. The jacket icons will appear next to the rider's name. And I wish I could. I wonder if I can show you the staging serve. So I'll be doing an email blast to the tracks maybe tomorrow, kind of explaining to you what the riders are going to need to be able to order their district jackets online. It's a little bit different. We're locking down that form just to make sure we don't get people submitting for jackets who truly didn't earn one. So I'll email you kind of an instruction and some screenshots of what that's going to look like for the riders. So if they ask you, you know what they're talking about. So that's coming down the pipeline. And obviously, if they're going to finalize district points the beginning of next week, we'll be announcing that the track points are final right after that. So I know that I was working on some track point discrepancies for a couple of tracks right now. If you think you've got a track points discrepancy, email me as quickly as you can tonight, if you could, just because I'd like to tackle it before I'm in Tulsa and doing little more than trying to keep the dirt out of my beer and yelling very loudly at cars racing in that arena. So, all right, guys. Well, safe trip to everybody who's going to Vegas this weekend, if you're not already there, and good luck to everybody else running their races this weekend. If you guys need anything, give us a shout. But thank you so much for joining me.